welcome to Talk Wrestling. Yes, the rumors are true. I really didn't set this up for today, so how do I know nobody's here? But I felt that if any day was important to bring back Talk Wrestling, it was today. People have been asking me to bring back Talk Wrestling on NWA. People have been asking me to bring back Talk Wrestling on this channel, my channel, and I have debated back and forth about being on, debated back and forth about doing shows anymore at all, to be honest with you. I've been in a, shall we say, a funk, but we'll go ahead and move on from that. So I'm here to talk about NWA Powerrr with 3 R's, because that's what the NWA likes to hashtag it as, NWA Powerrr, P-O-W-E-R-R-R. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention that out loud or not, but I just happen to notice it, so we'll take it for what it's worth. Is my volume low? Oh hell. Let's see if the air being on will, air being off I should say, will increase my volume. Can you guys hear me better now as the air kicks off and I'm going to roast like a fucking turkey in here, but that's okay. It's my channel, I can do what I want, I can roast like a turkey if I want to, right? I gotta set it straight. I'm slouching here. Okay. So anyway, I'll let a few more people come in before I start actually reviewing the show, because I feel it's important as many people see as much of my review of NWA Powerrr as possible, because I feel that it is, with NXT going to 2 hours, with AEW being on for 2 hours, with Raw and SmackDown being 3 and 2, and even NXT UK being only an hour, I feel NWA Powerrr is the best hour of wrestling on being broadcast right now. It's on broadcast TV. It's not on broadcast TV. It's on Facebook Live and YouTube, and it's on Fight TV on the weekends, I believe. You'll have to have somebody at NWA confirm that for me. That would be greatly appreciated. I don't know for sure. I've not watched it on Fight. I watch it live. I watch it on Tuesdays at 6:05 Eastern on YouTube.com/NWA. I've watched both weeks. I've been tremendously impressed with the show. I feel the NWA is doing great things to reestablish their brand, much like they have the last 2 years plus, since they introduced Tim Storm to the world as the world's champion, wearing the 10 pounds of gold. I'll make sure I throw that in there, 10 pounds of gold. Say it one more time, 10 pounds of gold. It's very important to me as an old school wrestling fan who honestly didn't grow up on the NWA. I grew up on the World Wrestling Federation. I grew up watching, the Hulkster and the Ultimate Warrior and the Macho King Randy Savage and Jake the Snake Roberts and those guys. But, there was a whole section of history that I missed out on quite a bit in the early part of my wrestling fandom. It wasn't until Hulk Hogan crossed over to WCW in 1994 that I really started to take notice of other companies besides the WWF. And of course, as we all know, there's been ECW, there's been the AWA before that, there's been, the NWA's been around since 1948, so we know that now. But I really got into the NWA really, really heavy. I'm ashamed to admit this, to be honest with you, because it wasn't a fun time in the NWA. It was different, and it was unique in that it never had been done before, certainly not by Vince McMahon. But when Dan Severn came to the WWF in 1998, I believe, when he was the world's champion, he came in with Jimmy Cornette, and they brought in, the Rock and Roll Express and the New Midnight Express, and Barry Windham joined them, and Jeff Jarrett joined them, and I really started to wonder what the NWA was, and even in my, so I would have been not quite 15 yet, so my 14, 15-year-old self was eager for information, and I really kind of latched on to the WWF Attitude Era and the end of WCW, and then in recent years, I'd say going back about, I think I went to my first Dave Marquez NWA Showcase show in 2000, would have been 2008, I believe, at the Galaxy Theater. Help me out, Dave, I'm not sure 100% on that, but, I really want to know. It had to have been 2008 because I remember the first NWA champion I saw defend the title live, actually defend the championship in a championship match was Adam Pearce, the Scrap Iron, the Scrap Daddy, Adam Pearce, and So the NWA has really had a long road back to prominence, and all right, well, that's the end of you. You're done. Goodbye. I need a moderator to help me out with stuff like that. That's just ridiculous. Anyway, one comment I get is from that asshole. So the NWA has had a really long road back to prominence since the, I guess, split, for lack of a better term, from TNA back in 2007. But I love what they're doing now. I love the acquisition by William Patrick Corgan. I love Dave Lagana being involved. I love Dave Marquez being involved. I love Nick Aldis as a world champion. Despite the fact he hasn't blocked on Twitter, I don't know why. If somebody can help me out with that. I didn't do anything to piss off Nick Aldis, as far as I know. He was very respectful to me at Championships from Hollywood, as was I to him. So I don't know what I did. Help me out. Let me know. Somebody find out for me what happened with me and Nick Aldis. But I love what Alice has done as champion, what Tim Storm did as champion, what Cody did as champion when he was champion last year. And it's really all about the 10 pounds of gold. It's really all about the national champion, James Storm, the World Tag Team Champions, Royce Isaacs and Tom Latimer, the Women's Champion, Allison Kay, Sienna, whatever you want to call her. They call her Allison Kay, so I'm calling her Allison Kay. And we saw a lot of great faces last week on the show. This week was no exception. We saw, what surprised me was a return to prominence of, not prominence, I guess. He was in a match on NWA Powerrr, but the first time in a long time seeing him on any sort of big platform was Trevor Murdoch. He was in the opening match this week on NWA Powerrr as he faced the first match on NWA Powerrr for Ricky Starks, who was one of their big signings they announced over the last few months. This kid, my goodness, he's young, he's hungry, he's got a good look, got a great look. The kid's freaking put together, no homo, but wow, this guy is good looking, and he knows what he's got, and he's great in the ring, and it's awesome. I love everything about this guy. He had a great match with Trevor Murdoch. Much respect, as I said on Twitter, for both guys. Just a great outing to start the show. Good performance by both. Good promo by Ricky Starks. Let us know how pretty he is. It's one of those things where he's got a very cocky attitude, but he's entitled to it. He's very, 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 very put together, and he's one of those guys that's the future of the NWA, no question about it. I think I missed this, but before they went to the thing with Joe Galli on the news and the clickbait controversy talking about him getting to interview Aldis and Camille later, Colt Cabana was there, and we were going to see what he was up to. And what Colt Cabana was up to was bringing out Mr. Anderson. Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, whatever you want to call him. I'm going to bring this guy over. There we go. I can see the shirt, see the pin. Doing good here. He brought out Mr. Anderson to be his new tag team partner. Cab Andersons, maybe? That's what they're saying on Twitter. I don't know. We'll see. And the NWA, I don't know if they announced this last week or not, but they announced it this week. The new pay-per-view coming out in December 14th, Saturday afternoon, 6:05 Eastern, of course. The NWA's time is 6:05, baby. Into the Fire is what the show is called. It's going to be an awesome show. I'm sure we'll see all titles defended. I'm sure we're going to see another great show, much like the Crockett Cup, much like the Popping event, much like NWA 70, much like all the other shows they've done recently, and of course the television tapings in Atlanta will be around that time as well. So Mr. Anderson made his debut on NWA Powerrr. He and Cabana picked up a tag team victory. The same guys that jobbed, I believe, to the Dawsons last week. I think it's the Dawsons, the name of the team. They lost to Cabana and Anderson. Cabana hit the flying apple. Then I think he threw the guy into Anderson. Anderson did the mic check. 1, 2, 3. That was that. So let's see, we got that. And then also next was Ashley Vox making her NWA debut. in a non-title women's match against the women's champion, Allison Kay. I expected this to be a squash, and it wasn't, and I was very surprised. Ashley gave Allison every bit of it, every bit that she got, and then some. It was a great back and forth. I liked the respect. Backtrack. I liked the respect that Murdoch showed Starks after he shook his hand. Starks acknowledged it, acknowledged the respect back to him, but of course turned back to cocky. In this case, Allison Kay showed her opponent Ashley Box respect even in her defeat. And Ashley's defeat, not Allison. Allison won the match. I think it was the Noah put it on there, the name of the move, and I don't remember what it was. I found it, I promise. Sunset Driver, there we go. That's what it was. She hit the Sunset Driver, and of course she picks the victory. The women's champion, not retains because it wasn't a title match. It was a great non-title showcase. Both women looked good. The women's division's future looks promising. With Jazz not being there anymore, it looks like. I don't know if she's going back. I don't know if she's going to be with AEW. I haven't read the interview yet. I need to, and that's my bad for not doing that, so sorry. A little crazy, been a little occupied. But I liked what I saw in Allison Kay and Ashley Box in this match. Great stuff. Then they showed Tim Storm in the back. They showed the recap of the end of the match with Tim Storm and Nick Aldis last week about Tim Storm losing his final opportunity to become the world's champion. And unfortunately, Tim lost. And they went to interview him after the match backstage or back in the walkway there. And Tim just kind of blew the guy off. And it was announced on Twitter. Let me see. Here we go. Breaking news: Tim Storm returns to NWA Powerrr next week to address his future in professional wrestling. Watch the full show now. So the NWA broke that news during NWA Powerrr this week that Tim Storm will be on next week's show to talk about his future. Will we see the retirement of Tim Storm? Will we see the high school teacher hang it up for good and go back to teaching and teaching alone? Or will he make another run to the championship in NWA or outside of NWA professional wrestling? Time will tell. I would love to see Tim Storm continue to compete. I think he's an amazing wrestler. He does not show his age at all. He's in better shape than I am. I'm 36. He's 53? Yeah. I mean, I'm not trained in the gym. So, what do I know? But, so we'll see what happens there. Then James Storm came out for the interview. He was interrupted by Eli Drake. James Storm was talking about the fact that he wants the 10 pounds of gold. He was kind of diminishing what he's done so far, and that he wants to be the world's champion. He wants to be the NWA world's champion. That's his goal. And Eli Drake came out and said, Eli Drake came out and said that he, needs to not diminish what he's done. He's national champion. That means he's next in line to be the world's champion. And Eli Drake made it very clear to him that, he came out and said he wanted to be the world's champion, but that if James Storm gets the world championship, don't forget your buddy, or don't forget your pal, whatever you say. So, I'm curious if they're going to have them compete for the national championship on December 14th, or are we going to see that sooner, maybe, on NWA Powerrr in the next, I think there's 7 weeks left that's been taped. I didn't read the results. I was a good boy. I didn't read spoilers. They were out there. I saw a whole bunch of them. I didn't read any of them, so we'll see what happens in NWA Powerrr in the next few weeks. Did that. So the main event was a NWA World Tag Team title match, the wild card. Royce Isaacs and Tom Latimer. Tom Latimer as Bram from TNA back in the day, I should say. A few years ago, I guess he was there. More than a few years now. Actually, he was there quite a while ago. Royce Isaacs has been a fixture here in Championship Wrestling Hollywood, out here on the West Coast. He's former United Wrestling Network television champion, Hollywood Heritage champion, both at the same time, actually, matter of fact. And he is one half of the World Tag Team Champions in NWA with Tom Latimer. They faced off with Outlaw Inc., Eddie Kingston, and Homicide. Homicide himself, of course, a former NWA World Tag Team Champion with Hernandez as LAX, the original LAX back in 2000. He won the titles in 2006, maybe 2005. It was back in the early TNA days. back in the NWA team, I think. Maybe later than that. But just a great match, back and forth. A lot of dominance by Outlaw Inc. A lot of dominance by the Wildcard too. Wildcard, I guess, played the baby faces the heels by default because Lord knows Kingston and Homicide aren't baby faces, especially Eddie Kingston. Did we have Eddie Kingston on my show? I could have sworn we had him on XMB back in the day, but I could be wrong. Maybe he was after XMB's time. But I remember trying to get him an interview, and he was always very heelish, shall we say. But the Dawsons broke everything up, and it was a schmoz at the end, and so the Dawsons ruined the main event. They took out Kingston, they took out Homicide, they took out both members of the Wild Card, so it ended up being a complete throwaway. And the show ended with the interview with Joe Galley, my boy Joe Galley, who's a newsman out in Texas, and he's also the play-by-play guy for the NWA right now, along with Jim Cornette doing color commentary. God bless Jim Cornette, staying relevant. I love it, Jimmy. And I agree with you a lot, but you know what? That's okay. We don't have to agree on everything, but you know we love professional wrestling. That's what's important. So there you go. The long-awaited interview with Joe Galley talking to, we thought it would be Nick Aldis and Camille. Nick Aldis said his piece. Joe Galley even said his piece. Joe Galley kind of got, a little uppity there. I gotta give him credit. Camille was given the chance to say something, and she tugged on the mic, she hit the mic a little bit, but purposely did not say a word. So, whatever we saw last week of Aldis holding Camille back from talking was apparently not the case, because she went out of her way to not say a word this week on the show. And that's how it ended, with Camille and Aldis walking off set, and that was it. When the credits, boom, you guys said a half hour later. Actually 45 minutes later now. God, 45, 47, wow. So, there you go. There's that. That was the show this week. It was a fun show. Like I said, it's a really fun show. If you've got an hour on your Tuesday afternoons, I highly recommend it. I don't know why it's not showing on the chat right there. Anyway. No, that's a good question. I don't know why for some reason the chat's not showing on here. So let me see like there it goes. Maybe. Okay, fine. There we go. I wonder what the keyword was taken with this episode as we head to next week. Silence is golden. Is my thing. Camille spoke volumes without saying a word. And Nick Aldis showed he's got a little bit of a hothead when it comes to that, by saying what he said both to Joe Galley and that little TMZ style interview he did after that, they're showing like the lead up to the interview. So, again, silence is golden is the key phrase this week, because although James Storm said a lot and spoke volumes doing what he was doing, as did Eli Drake, as they both always do. And poor Dave Marquez. Ricky Styles messed with him, and Allison Kay messed with him, and James Storm messed with him, and it was just not a good week for Marquez. Maybe Noah. Maybe she'll speak at the pay-per-view first. It's definitely something that they've got us, looking forward to her speaking for the first time. So I'm curious if they're gonna do that, or if they're gonna or just keep her a strong silent type like China was for all that time before she discovered her personality. I honestly don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I realized as I set the time up for this outing, and thank you to both of you that are watching right now, Noah and whoever else is watching, I appreciate that very much. But I cut in the time, if you're going to watch them live, for both AEW Dark and Champions Wrestling from Arizona on Fight TV. So that's my mistake. So this won't happen at this time next week. So I want to be able to let people watch. I'll be able to watch Arizona and AEW Dark because, goodness sakes, those shows are both tremendous. This week's episode of Arizona, Champions of Arizona, featured Nick Aldis defending the championship against producer Peter Avalon, who's now, of course, librarian at AEW. So I think it was Peter's last outing at Arizona. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's how things ended up. I think he's supposed to be at the show this coming weekend to talk about his future with Arizona. So if you're in the area at the Nile Theater, check that out. AEW Dark is right now live on YouTube. So after you're done watching my sorry self, go ahead and flip over to AEW's channel and watch them from the start. It's a great show. Taz, my good buddy Taz, the guy who first blocked me on Twitter back in the day, and I earned it. I deserve it. I do. I totally earned that shit. So, but he's on commentary this week on AEW Dark, so check it out. It's sure to be good. Taz is a great commentator. I'll take nothing away from his commentary skills or his wrestling skills when he was a wrestler. He was one of the best ever. He just didn't get the right look at the right time, unfortunately. But he didn't get a look when he was at his best. He was a couple years late, I think, in his WWE run when he actually did WWE. By the time he was there, it was late in his career. He was already beat up with his neck. It was just time for him to step away from the ring. But he ended up being a great guy. I think he and Michael Cole are the best SmackDown team to this day. I stand behind that. I will stand behind that until I'm in the ground or in the urn or whatever you want to put, however you want to put me away. I will stand behind it. Anyway, I got way the hell into the weeds, as my buddy X-Bud always says in his podcast. Stay tuned to this channel for this show, Talk Wrestling. I'm gonna try to do Q&A, open Q&A. Once we get more viewers, once we get more people saying, hey, here's the channel, we're back. I'll put an announcement out there when the show's gonna be on. I might just do the shows on Thursdays because it doesn't interfere with anything wrestling-wise. There's no WWE, there's no NWA, there's no AEW, there's no NXT. Thursday's pretty much the open day. So if I can get myself in this spot Thursday afternoons at, let's say 7 Eastern. Let's go with that and see how things play out. Thursdays at 7 Eastern. I'll be here this week as well. I'll put the announcement on Twitter right now as soon as I hang up this little show here. As soon as we do that, I will make the announcement. But Talk Wrestling is back. Jeff Meacham is back. He's out of his funk. He's in the groove. He's ready to talk. He's ready to hear from you guys. And he will be back this Thursday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, out here on the West Coast, for Talk Wrestling. Until then, see ya.